It happened on a Wednesday night. I remember that because Wednesdays were always the slow days. The kind where I come home, heat up some leftovers, and we maybe sit together for dinner in silence. No arguments, just two people existing side by side like strangers passing in a hallway. But this night was different. I had picked up her favorite wine from the store, the red one from that tiny winery upstate, and thought maybe, just maybe, it would open a door. We hadn't really connected in weeks. Intimacy? Gone. Laughs. Distant memory. Even small talk had started to feel like an obligation. Still, I tried. I set the table, lit a candle, put on the playlist we used to love. She walked in from work, dropped her purse by the door, and didn't even look at the table. "You hungry?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She didn't answer right away. Just looked at me. Really looked like I was someone unfamiliar, someone she wasn't expecting to still be there. Then she sighed, and what she said next didn't just hit me like a punch to the gut. It left a crater. "I don't love you anymore." No warning. No preamble. No quiet, "we need to talk," like they do in movies. Just that. Cold. Loud. Final. I stood there frozen. My hand still holding the bottle of wine I hadn't opened yet. My mind tried to make sense of the words, but they didn't compute. I didn't know what to say. I think part of me believed if I didn't respond, maybe it wouldn't be real. She pulled out a chair, sat down, and looked away. Not even an ounce of guilt in her eyes. Just exhaustion. Maybe even relief. "You heard me," she said, sharper this time, like she needed me to react, to scream, to cry, to do something dramatic that would give her a reason to call me weak or emotional. Something to justify whatever story she had built in her head about me. But I didn't give her that. I stayed quiet. I nodded once, slowly, and sat across from her. My hands were trembling, but I didn't let her see that. I just looked at her, the woman I had sacrificed so much for, and I realized something that scared me even more than her words. She had probably stopped loving me a long time ago, and I had been too blind, too hopeful, too busy trying to be a good man to notice that I was pouring everything into a relationship where the other person had already checked out. I thought about all the times she turned her back to me in bed, all the times I made plans she bailed on, all the times I looked at her hoping she'd meet my gaze, but she never did. Her eyes were always on her phone, or on someone else, or just anywhere but on me. I remembered the last time we laughed together. I couldn't even place when it was. I remembered buying her that coat she wanted, the expensive one, and how she didn't even say thank you. Just grabbed the bag, walked to the bedroom, and posted it on Instagram with some caption like treating myself. I remembered watching her get dressed every morning for work, putting on perfume, doing her hair, never for me. She didn't do that on our date nights anymore. Hell, we didn't even have those anymore. And now here she was, saying the words out loud, like she was doing me a favor. "I don't love you anymore." She thought that would break me, and in some way it did, but not how she expected. That sentence didn't tear me apart. It woke me up, because it wasn't just a marriage that ended in that moment. It was the illusion of love. The lie I had been telling myself that if I just held on tighter, worked harder, gave more, maybe she'd come back to me. But you can't hold on to someone who's already gone. I stayed at that table for a few minutes longer, staring at the flicker of the candlelight. I didn't say another word. She didn't either. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, emotionless. Eventually, I got up, walked to the sink, and poured the wine down the drain. That was the moment I began letting her go, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. Every word she said after that day would carry less weight. Every time she tried to provoke a fight or test my patience, I would no longer care. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't beg. Something inside me had shut off. Not out of spite. Not out of hatred. Out of clarity. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to, but because I didn't want to be anywhere near her. I remember staring at the ceiling and thinking, that's the last time I chase someone who doesn't see me. And I meant it. I didn't know what the future held. But I knew this. I was done fighting for someone who threw those 5 words at me like they meant nothing. She said she didn't love me anymore. Soon, I wouldn't love her either. After that night, something shifted inside me. Not instantly. No, that would have been too easy. But gradually, like a thick fog lifting after a long storm. I stopped trying to fix what was already broken beyond repair. There was no dramatic fight, no begging, no yelling, just silence, the kind that says everything. I still live in the same house, at least for the time being, but I was no longer in it, not emotionally. I'd wake up early, sometimes even before the sun. There were moments when I'd catch myself staring at her while she slept, wondering how we got here. Wondering how someone could lay next to you for years and one day just stop loving you, or maybe never love you at all, and you just didn't want to see it. Each morning, I made coffee only for myself. I used to make hers too. 2 sugars, a splash of oat milk. Not anymore. I stopped asking if she needed anything from the store. I stopped reminding her about dentist appointments, family birthdays, dinner with her friends. I pulled away, slowly but with intention. It wasn't about revenge. It was about survival. She noticed, of course. Not right away, but eventually. It's funny, when I was desperate for her attention, I was invisible. But the moment I stopped trying, her eyes started following me around the room. While I began leaving the house without telling her where I was going, she started asking. Not directly, but through sideways glances or those passive-aggressive, "You've been out a lot lately" comments. I just smiled, politely. No emotion. I threw myself into self-discipline. Not out of pride, out of necessity. I needed something that was mine again. I reactivated my gym membership. The first few days were rough. My body had become soft, just like my spirit had. But each drop of sweat felt like another layer of weakness peeling off. I started reading again. Not mindless entertainment. Real books. Things that reminded me of who I was before I molded myself to become her idea of acceptable. I reconnected with people I had distanced myself from. Friends I hadn't called in months because she didn't like them. My brother, who she said was too immature. Even my old college buddy, who invited me for poker nights and bourbon Fridays. I showed up, and for the first time in years, I laughed. A real belly-deep laugh. She watched all of this unfold from a distance, and I saw the confusion in her eyes, the discomfort, the way she'd walk into a room where I was smiling at a text and immediately go cold. She tried to poke at me, tried to bait me into conversations, shallow ones, surface-level drama, sarcastic jabs. But I never bit, because I was done performing for her. She tried wearing that perfume she used to wear when we were dating, the one that once made my heart race. But it didn't move me anymore. I had outgrown that version of her. Or maybe I just finally seen through it. The intimacy she denied me for months? Suddenly, she started accidentally brushing against me while passing by, wearing silk at night instead of her usual oversized shirt. I didn't flinch. I didn't comment. I just rolled over and slept like a man with peace in his chest. And then came the unexpected. I met someone. It wasn't love at first sight. I wasn't even looking. But she was kind, warm, soft-spoken, but with eyes that listened, really listened. We met at a bookshop downtown. She was looking for something by Steinbeck. I helped her find it. We talked about literature, about grief, about starting over. She didn't know I was healing. She didn't know I had come from a place where affection had to be earned like a prize. She just treated me like I mattered, without conditions. We started meeting for coffee. No pressure, just presence. One afternoon, I found myself laughing at one of her stories, and it hit me I hadn't laughed like that in a long time. Not the kind of laugh you fake to keep the peace, but the kind that sneaks up on you. The kind that reminds you you're still alive. That night, I came home later than usual. She was on the couch, pretending to scroll on her phone, but I knew she'd been watching the door. She looked up and asked, "Where were you?" I just smiled again. The same smile that used to beg for her approval, now delivered with quiet indifference. "Out," I said simply, then walked into the kitchen. The silence was heavy. She tried again the next day. "Are you seeing someone?" Her voice wasn't angry. It was trembling. There was a crack in it, the kind people get when they're afraid to hear the answer. I didn't respond. I just grabbed my keys, looked her in the eye, and said, "I'm seeing myself clearly again. That's enough." I left. That was the turning point. I wasn't trying to hurt her, but she was hurting. Not because she missed me, but because she lost the control she thought she'd always have. She expected me to fall apart. Instead, I rebuilt. Quietly. Slowly. Brick by brick. She used to see me as soft. Predictable. Weak, maybe. Now she saw a man who stopped waiting for love to be handed to him like leftovers. A man who started loving himself instead. And that terrified her. It was a Sunday afternoon, one of those crisp, early autumn days when the sky looks endless and the breeze carries that perfect blend of warmth and chill. I wasn't planning on seeing her. That day wasn't about her at all. It was just supposed to be a casual outing, a little walk downtown, a stop at the local market, and maybe lunch at that place with the patio that overlooks the lake. I was with her, the new woman in my life. The one who had no idea what my past had looked like because I didn't lead with pain. I didn't need to. She didn't ask for pieces of me I wasn't ready to give. She just held my hand like it was normal, like it made sense. And that's how it happened. We were walking out of the cafe, hand in hand, laughing at something dumb, probably some joke about how bad I am at remembering orders when I heard my name. Ryan. The sound hit me like static. I knew that voice even before I turned around. There was a hesitation in it, a tremor, like she wasn't sure if saying my name out loud would make it all real. I turned, and there she was, standing near the entrance of the bookstore, holding a paper bag in one hand, a look of disbelief plastered across her face. Her posture stiffened. Her expression didn't match the usual passive coldness I'd grown used to. No, this was something else. This was panic, raw, unfiltered panic, disguised under a cracked smile. I didn't let go of the hand I was holding. I squeezed it gently, actually, just to remind myself of the difference between being tolerated and being chosen. My new partner glanced at me, then at the woman standing a few feet away. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was enough. "Hey," I said to my ex calmly. It was just a word, but it held more control than any argument I ever had with her. I didn't fumble, didn't stutter. I didn't try to explain myself. I didn't owe her that. Her eyes dropped to our hands, locked, steady, then shot back up to my face. "You're with someone?" she asked, but it came out more like a gasp than a question. I nodded, still composed. "Yeah." She blinked fast, like she was trying to process it all too quickly and her brain couldn't catch up. There was a long pause. People were walking past, living their lives, completely unaware that a silent war was taking place right there on the sidewalk. Then she said it. "I didn't think you'd move on so fast." Fast. I could have laughed, but I didn't. I just tilted my head and said, "It wasn't fast. You just weren't watching." That shut her up. She took a step back like the words had weight. Her lips parted, then closed. She looked smaller, weaker, like the version of her I once adored had melted away, leaving only confusion and regret behind. We didn't linger. I nodded politely and walked away, still holding the hand of the woman who didn't have to fix me, because I had already fixed myself. Later that night, the text started. "Can we talk?" I didn't mean what I said that day. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't respond. Then came the calls. 1, 2, 6 in a row. She left a voicemail. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. "Ryan, please. I messed up. I see that now. I don't even know why I said those things to you. I was angry. I was confused. But seeing you today, God, it hurt. I didn't expect it to hurt this much. Please just talk to me. Don't shut me out." But I was already gone. I had shut that door quietly, with grace, not bitterness. She didn't hear it at the time because she was too busy shouting her indifference. But the silence that followed, that was the sound of the lock turning. In the weeks that followed, she tried again. She showed up at my workplace once, left a note on my windshield. She even texted my sister, asking how I was, saying she just wanted closure. But we both knew what that meant. Closure is something people ask for when they realize they can't reopen the door they slammed shut. The last time we saw each other was at a wedding. Mutual friends. We weren't seated at the same table, thank God. But during the reception, our paths crossed briefly. She looked different, not physically, just hollow, like someone who realized too late that silence doesn't always mean forgiveness. Sometimes it means freedom. She tried one more time that night, caught me by the bar, touched my arm gently. "I'm happy for you," she said, but her eyes were glassy. I looked at her, really looked, and said the most honest thing I could. "I'm happy for me too." Then I walked away. No revenge, no gloating, just peace. You see, I used to think that healing meant making someone regret losing you, that the win was in their tears in their begging. But the truth is, healing is when you no longer care if they ever regret it all. And if they do, that's their burden to carry, not mine.